This is the story of John Carter. John Carter was a soldier in the American Civil War. But he didn't really like war anymore. He had seen too much fighting, too much pain. All he wanted was peace, and to find a cave filled with gold so he could live a quiet life. But guess what? Everything changed when he found a strange cave in the middle of the desert. John Carter went into the cave, and inside, he saw strange symbols on the walls, and a man appeared out of nowhere, a man dressed in shiny armor. They fought, and John Carter killed him. But when he touched the man's medallion, something unbelievable happened. John Carter was suddenly transported to a strange planet. That planet was Mars. But the people who lived there called it Barsoom. At first, John couldn't understand where he was. He tried to walk, but he jumped so high it was like he could fly. That's because the gravity on Mars is much lower than Earth's, and his body was stronger there. He had special powers now. He could jump high, move fast, and fight harder than anyone else. He was quickly captured by green aliens called the Tharks. These Tharks were tall, had 4 arms, tusks, and lived in a wild warrior society. Their leader was Tars Tarkas. But Tars wasn't like the others. He was kind. He saw something special in John Carter and decided to protect him. Now while all this was happening, there was a war on Mars. 2 human-like cities were fighting each other, Helium, the city of peace and learning, and Zodanga, the city of war and destruction. Zodanga was winning because they had a new secret weapon, a blue glowing power given to them by strange beings called the Therns. These Therns were mysterious, powerful creatures who could shapeshift and disappear. They had plans, dark plans, and they were using the war to control Barsoom. Meanwhile, the princess of Helium, Dejah Thoris, was being forced to marry the Zodangan leader, Sabthan, to stop the war. But Dejah was brave. She didn't want to marry someone evil. So, she ran away, and that's when she met John Carter. John saved her from danger. She was surprised by his strength, his jumps, and his courage. She asked him to help her city, to save Barsoom. But John was still confused. He didn't want to fight anymore. He didn't want to be a hero. All he wanted was to go home. But slowly, as he spent more time with Dejah, he began to care. He started to understand that this planet needed him. These people needed someone to stand up and fight. John also learned the truth about the medallion that brought him to Mars. Dejah told him it was a 9th-ray device, something the Therns used to travel between worlds. That meant, if he could find another one, he could go back to Earth. But it also meant that the Therns were not just on Mars, they were watching many worlds, including his own. The Therns didn't want John Carter to stay. They knew he was powerful. So, they tried to trick him. They told him to go home, to forget this planet. But John had changed. He had seen the suffering of the people. He had fallen in love with Dejah Thoris. He couldn't leave. So, he made a choice. He would fight. He returned to the Tharks, but they had been torn apart by their own battles. Their leader, Tars Tarkas, was being punished for protecting John. But John Carter gave a powerful speech. He told them about honor, about freedom. And the Tharks believed in him. They joined him in battle. The final fight was huge, flying ships crashed in the sky, swords clashed on the ground, and John Carter fought like never before. He jumped across the battlefield, destroying enemy machines, and defeating Sabthan. He even faced off with the Therns. He was not just a soldier anymore, he was a warrior of Barsoom. At the end, he won. The war was over. Dejah Thoris was safe. Peace had returned to Barsoom. John and Dejah got married, and he became the Prince of Helium. He had found a new home, a new purpose, and love. But the story doesn't end there. Just on the night of his wedding, a Thern sneaked into the palace. He tricked John into touching a medallion, and in a blink, John Carter was back on Earth. He was trapped. He had no way back to Mars. For 10 years, he searched for another medallion. He looked all over the world. People thought he was crazy. But he never gave up. Not once. He even faked his own death just to protect the secret of Barsoom. And finally, he found the key. That's where the story takes a twist. Because everything we've been hearing? It was a story written in a journal, a message to John Carter's nephew, a young man named Edgar Rice Burroughs. He was the one reading the book, learning the truth. When he finally understood, he rushed to John's tomb, only to discover it was empty. And standing there was John Carter, alive. He had finally found a way back. He had tricked the Therns, found another medallion, and returned to Mars, to Barsoom, and to Dejah Thoris, the woman he loved. And that, my friends, is the story of John Carter. A soldier who lost everything, but found a new world. A man who didn't want to be a hero, but became one anyway. He didn't give up, even when everything was against him. He fought not just for himself, but for others. For peace. For love. For Barsoom. And who knows, maybe one day, you'll find a cave, touch a glowing medallion, and discover a whole new world waiting for you too. Until then, remember this: courage, love, and never giving up can change everything, even the stars.